At the time of this recording, I have $138,000 in available credit between 3 of my primary financial institutions. And I want to give you guys context on how I got to that level of limits. I want to talk about the relationship with each financial institution, how those limits break down between those 3 institutions, how they break down between personal and business limits. And I also want to most importantly give you context on which of those 3 institutions I got the most bang for my buck. I got the most fruits from my labor. So you can go out and reestablish your banking relationships so you can make sure you're focusing on the right ones who are going to give you the most for your banking relationship. So those 3 financial institutions for me, as you can see in the title, are American Express, Navy Federal, and Chase Bank. So you have a little bit of context on me. I'm actually a career retail banker. I have over 13 years experience at the time of this recording. I'm licensed with FINRA SIE Series 6 investment license, small business certification for business banking, business credit. I also have a more active mortgage license, life insurance license, and other credentials in the industry of banking and financial services. I also have been launched and operating a couple small businesses. I brought my personal finances from a negative net worth of nearly 6 figures at the time of about 2017 to 2018 to currently plus 6 figures. In my own personal net worth, I brought my FICO scores from a 515 at their lowest point, also around 2017, 2018, to this time of this recording, where the average median FICO score I would have between the dozens that are available, somewhere about between a 780 and an 800. So I've done a lot of work over the years in the industry professionally, and I've also done a lot of work over my own finances personally, coming from some pretty tough hardship and some personal crises that I experienced that I had to recover from. When we get into these 3 banking relationships, now that you guys have context on who I am and who you're getting this information from, we're going to start with the oldest banking relationship and work our way from there. So my oldest banking relationship of the 3 is going to be Chase Bank. I've had Chase Bank at least since maybe 2011. That relationship, needless to say, has been pretty extensive. Multiple deposit relationships, investment accounts with Chase Bank, auto loans with Chase Bank, currently have a mortgage with Chase Bank. Yeah, I've had a pretty extensive relationship with Chase Bank. What I can say is I have not had any personal credit cards with Chase Bank. Believe it or not, my credit limit exposure with Chase Bank is a little over 50,000. At the time of this record, it's 54,000, and that is completely on the business side. I have 2 Chase Unlimited business credit cards, and both have been acquired in the last year and some change now, which is summer of 2023. And the first one was a sole proprietorship in my own name and my own social security number, which I only received a starting limit of 3,000, and that limit has only grown to 4,000 since I've had it. I have not really exercised that card very much for obvious reasons. The limit is pretty low. Now, the card that I most recently acquired was February of 2024, this year at the time of this recording, was a Chase Unlimited as well for my actual business. And I got a $46,000 limit. Crazy. Believe it or not, there's a few reasons I believe I had that success with that limit. And I'll give you the context that I have as to why. And I'll give you some data points that you can chew on to kind of get an idea what that might look like for you if you don't already have business credit cards with Chase, or you just haven't had that kind of starting limit out of the gate. So for one, again, I've had a more than 10-year standing relationship with Chase Bank. It's been an off and on relationship, but nonetheless, I've been in their ecosystem. I've also developed my personal finances at the time of this recording, again, to a little over 100 grand in income, we'll call it, on the corporate side. Operate, again, some small businesses and some side work that I've done over the years that has done relatively well. Again, my FICO scores at the time of that card application, probably closer to the 750 to 770 range. I also took a small loan for my motorcycle that I purchased, and maybe some other recent inquiries, from some other things over the last year and a half. But other than that, very, very, very low payments on small amount of student loans left. A handful of credit cards that are reporting with very, very low balances, if balances at all. I have a very polished DTI. For my location, my geographical location, I have a very good income. I'm in Southeast Louisiana. And again, say for sure I'm making over $100,000 a year. The business that I was able to put this credit card application under is doing relatively well, but has put a projected revenue of also in the 6-figure range. I want to put some context on getting a $46,000 limit out of the gate. Financials were in pretty reasonable shape, to say the least. It's not the best in the world, but I mean, given the circumstances circumstances and again, a very familiar relationship with Chase Bank, apparently they felt comfortable enough and everything came together enough for them to start me out with the $46,000 limit, which, quick note with Chase Bank, they are at a point right now where they are trying to approve small businesses with minimal documentation if they are at an exposure limit of under $250,000, at or under $250,000. I believe they rolled that program out late last year and they kind of dubbed it their credit modernization program. Basically where they're looking to compete with some of these other alternative lenders and other financial institutions that are known for extending capital with minimal documentation and taking up that market share. I've been fortunate to this point in time where I was able to get that level of a limit without having to supply any documentation. Now, again, my financials were pretty congruent. Chase Bank gets the bulk of my income in direct deposits. They obviously were able to pull my credit report and see a polished DTI. My business also had a little bit of business credit established at the time of application as well. Not much, but maybe a couple different accounts from a couple different vendors that I was working with for my business, etc. Now I want to quickly graduate over to the second longest standing relationship, which is going to be Navy Federal. With Navy Federal, I have, again, a very extensive banking relationship with them. That relationship started in 2018. My father is a retired Vietnam veteran. Very fortunate that he's still alive, still around, still here. And I was able to use his military affiliation to get my entire immediate family into Navy Federal in 2018. This is at the inception of my rebirth with my finances. I went through a personal financial crisis due to some personal issues around the 2014 to 2016 time frame of my life. And it led to a complete collapse in my finances. And I had a ton of work to do to dig out of that hole. Navy Federal was one of the first institutions that I established a relationship with, and it has paid great dividends. I've had multiple different deposit accounts and still hold multiple different deposit accounts with Navy Federal. I've only had one personal credit card with Navy Federal flagship card, at which it sits at a $28,000 limit at the time of this recording and highly likely going to be significantly higher before the calendar year of 2024 is out. So that is the extent of my relationship with Navy Federal. And again, that is $28,000 in limits. Just to quickly recap, $50,000 at Chase Bank and then the $28,000 at Navy Federal. Now we're going to move over to my American Express relationship, which is the most recent of the three, which was initiated in 2020 with a high yield savings account. I took a very patient route with American Express. With American Express, essentially what I did was start a small high yield savings account, put a few dollars in there, and I mean literally 50 to 100 bucks, and made incremental deposits over an extended period of time. Very small deposits, 20, 25 bucks every 2 weeks, every month or so, once a month or so, in order to kind of tease and tantalize that relationship with American Express until I felt ready to jump into their credit card ecosystem and get the best results from them. And it worked out pretty well. I finally applied for my first credit card with American Express with the HILTON SURPASS March 30th or 31st of 2023 with a planned trip to Chicago for Easter, which was the following week. So I was able to successfully apply and get a $9,000 starting limit with my HILTON SURPASS. Now, to kind of fast forward a little bit, I believe it was May that I applied for the business Hilton card, in which case I got approved for a $10,000 limit. So that's less than 60 days between applications. And I was able to get up to $19,000 in total limits with American Express. So after that point in time, at some point thereafter, maybe about somewhere between the 90 and 120 day mark, I applied for my first credit limit increase on my personal HILTON SURPASS. It went from $9,000 to a $23,000 limit in one credit limit increase request. If you meet the metrics, American Express has been very generous with giving extremely high limits in one go. And that's exactly what my experience was. I did not attempt to go for the 3X mark. I like to be patient. You want to kind of just ease your way up the ladder with these institutions if you're looking to grow longer term, which of course is my plan. So to quickly recap, again, started at $9,000 HILTON SURPASS, got the business Hilton at 10, got a credit limit increase up to $23,000 on my SURPASS. And so went back to do credit limit increase on the business. That was a sole proprietorship as well on that first card. So I did that in my name and my social. So with that one, I went to get my first credit limit increase. They put it under review and then asked for bank statements. So I just provided personal bank statements, which I don't think was the problem in them in denying it. What they stated that it was too much non-business related spend on the card at the time. So they denied it, ultimately fine, moved on. And not long after that, they automatically increased it $2,000 to $12,000 on their own. Since that point in time, again in about February, which was a mini app spree for me, if you want to call it that, I was able to apply for the Blue Business Cash with American Express under, again, begin my actual legitimate business entity. And at that time, I was able to get approved for $25,000 starting limit on that card. So that is card number 3 with American Express. In 2023, I opened a personal checking account with them that I still have a very small direct deposit of, maybe $50 to $100 a week, give or take, going into that account from some other side work that I have going on. So I've been also kind of slowly teasing and building up data points within American Express just to make sure I'm maxing out my potential there. My conclusion is that out of the 3, American Express is giving me a combined limit of about $65,000 if my math is correct. And I was able to get that with a very minimal deposit relationship with American Express. And I also was able to get that while only having an existing relationship at all a few years. You can meet the metrics that American Express is looking for. They have the highest propensity for growth when it comes to access to capital. What I want to teach you in this video or give you context on, a few things. Number 1, be concise and intentional with your banking relationships. If you do it properly, the sky's the limit on getting access to great capital on a personal and business side, as well as getting access to the best deposit rates and terms on your accounts. So I want you to comment down below. Let me know all of your thoughts, your feedback, any additional questions, clarity that you're looking for. Have kind of give me some context on this. If you're not banking with these 3 institutions and you are curious about more on my experience with them or the success I've had with them, why I haven't done more with them on the lending side yet, etc., would love to answer those questions for you. If you've run into hardship with these other institutions where you've run into a wall, let me know, because this is the opportunity for us to share insight, share information and data so we can all expand and grow our personal and business finances. To all my pioneers, welcome back. To my new viewers, welcome in. I want to tell each of you to stay focused, stay in motion. I'll see y'all soon.